And we are back. Welcome to my Premier League table reaction for 2024-25. This is where I review all of the predictions I made at the start of the season regarding where I thought which team would finish and give myself a score based on how wrong I was. Shout out to Spencer FC for the format for this, and a reminder for you what the format actually is by showing you my table from last season. Basically, every position I get wrong, I score a point. You want to score the lowest points possible. So as you can see at the bottom of your screen, I predicted Sheffield United to finish bottom last year. They did, which gave me 0 points. I predicted Bournemouth to finish 19th. They finished 12th, so I scored 7 points, etc, etc, etc. For the previous seasons I've done this, these are the scores that I got. 70 the first season, 85, 46 I got last season. That is the target to beat for this video. 70 points I was on at the midway mark when we did my review at mid-season. Hopefully, I can do better by the end of this video. Before we get into it, if you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like of this video if you do enjoy all of my predictions and reactions. And without any further ado, let's get straight into it because we start off in absolute style. Southampton 20th, Ipswich 19th and Leicester 18th. All three promoted sides I predicted to get relegated, and not only did all three get relegated, I got them in the right order as well. So we're starting off this video with 0 points from the bottom three positions, and to be honest, I don't really have much to say about any of them. I don't think anyone expected Southampton to survive. It was obvious their squad wasn't good enough to perform in the Premier League. Ipswich, I think everyone was backing the manager to try and get something out of the team that he had. I actually think Ipswich performed the best of the three promoted sides this season, but with the amount of injuries they had to key players up and down the pitch, I think ultimately that cost them getting as many points as they could have. Do I think they'd have still survived with all those players fit? No. But I think they gave it the best effort. And then Leicester, I think they were wrong for sacking Steve Cooper. Even more wrong for appointing Ruud van Nistelrooy. It didn't work out. Yes, they had a good end to the season. But that period from like January through to April absolutely ruined any chances for them. We'll see how they do next season. They've still got a pretty decent, if not still the best championship squad going into next season. So I imagine they'll be back next season. But we shall see. As for the remainder of the table, we start off with 17th. Where we find Spurs. And look, I got absolutely ridiculed in the comments of my prediction video at the start of the season because I didn't put Spurs in the top four.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
And I guess, look, the Spurs fans are still going to be laughing right now because they have still qualified for Europe, but that's for the Champions League, should I say, by winning the Europa League, especially at the expense of my club, Manchester United. But it shouldn't overshadow what's been a horrendous Premier League season. Again, a lot of injuries for them, especially to the back line, which is so important to them. But to still finish 17th with the squad they still had available to them, I think A, shows that it was still a very poor season, but B, shows the quality that the Premier League sides have right now and why it is so difficult to essentially accomplish anything in this division right now and why so many teams are what some would consider outperforming others. But at the end of the day, I just think there is very little to split between any of these sides. Poor season for Spurs. They finished 17th, which means we get 9 points added to our tally. In 16th was Wolves, and again, I have to reiterate what I said in my prediction video at the start of the season. How often can you keep selling your best players and expect to improve? Yes, you get a lot of money in, but you have to invest it in the right players. And for a side like Wolves that have now become a selling club, it's very hard to attract the right sort of player to your club for them to improve. Obviously, Gary O'Neill had a very bad start to the season. I still rate him as a manager. Vitor Pereira's come in and absolutely stabilised them to the point where we could have been talking about Wolves finishing higher than where I predicted in 14th. But they kind of fizzled out in those last couple of weeks and ended up finishing in 16th. But like I say, year in, year out, they sell their best players. It was Kilman and Pedro Neto coming into this season. It already looks like they've lost Mateus Cunha going into next season with Ait Nouri, the next one on the list as well. So it's going to be tough for them again next season. I can't see them finishing any higher than around this sort of area yet again next season. But we'll see. There's a lot have to happen in the summer. In 15th was Manchester United. I got absolutely ridiculed in the comments for saying that Manchester United would finish in the top 4.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're laughing now, are you?
And look, I'm going to do my full Manchester United end of season reaction, my stay and go video. That's going to come out for you next week. So I'll go into a lot more detail over Manchester United in that video. But ultimately, this season just quite frankly wasn't good enough. As a Manchester United fan, or as any fan of football, to see Manchester United in 15th, it's not a good enough performance, Manchester United. I genuinely believed, off the back of the FA Cup final victory, with the players we signed in the summer, with Ten Hag in charge, we could push on for a top 4 finish. And it should be noted that when Ten Hag was sacked, we were 4 points off 4th. We finished 15th under Ruben Amorim. So, like I say, look out for that Manchester United stay or go video. It's going to be an absolute hammering for some of those players in that video. But it's 11 points on the score, which is not good for the context of this video. But, yeah, an embarrassing season for Manchester United. In 14th, we find West Ham. 5 points for me. I said they finished 9th, but I did say in my video at the start that I don't rate Lopetegui as a manager, and that proved to be the case. The reason I put them 9th is because I believe that they made really good signings, and I stand by that. I think they did make some really good signings, West Ham, but they just couldn't get it working on the Lopetegui. Potter's come in and he's stabilised them. He's not improved them, but he has stabilised them. And I think a 14th place finish from where they were under Lopetegui is about fair. Is Potter going to be able to bring in the sort of players he needs in the summer to get them any further back up the table from there? We shall see. But I still like the squad that they've got. I still think they've got a half-decent manager now in Graham Potter. But we'll see. I think it's going to be another tough season for West Ham unless they can improve. 5 points for me on that one. In 13th, we have Everton, and again, they could have been a bit lower if it wasn't for David Moyes. I think Sean Dyche did a good job with Everton, but he only got them as far as he could take them. And like I say, I predicted them to finish 15th, which I think is about right if Sean Dyche would have stayed in charge for the remainder of the season. But David Moyes coming in, getting them going again, taking them back to the heights that he knows that he can. And I think we're looking at a side that could easily be pushing into the top 10 next season. Again, if they can get the right recruitment in their new stadium. There's a lot of positives around Everton at the moment. And I think 13th is a great finish for them this season. We could definitely see them pushing up higher up the table next season. But like I say, not too many complaints from me. I think 15th was a fair enough prediction from me on that one. In 12th, I went for Crystal Palace. They finished 11th. And in 11th, I went for Fulham. And they finished 10th. So again, no complaints from me there. It's a shame that they didn't finish one position below where I predicted them to. One position above where I predicted them to, because we'd obviously be talking about 0 points. But again, both teams have really solid seasons. I think they've got good managers. I think they've got good squads. And I think they're performing exactly where they're supposed to be performing. They are established Premier League teams. They have got established Premier League squads. And they've got good managers. I think all of the teams around this sort of area of the pitch now, like I say, everything from basically the Champions League places down to the relegation zone, there really isn't a lot to split between any of these teams. And I generally mean that, even if you want to lump Manchester United and Tottenham in there. We'll see what Tottenham do in the summer with Champions League football. But these are all teams now that have good squads and good managers and have a lot of Premier League experience. So I'm going to say this right here, right now. I think going into next season, we could be talking about our toughest table prediction. So I'm really happy to see clubs like Fulham and Crystal Palace finish where I predict them, because I really think there is little to nothing to split between almost 10 teams now in the Premier League with what we've currently got. And yeah, fair play to both teams. Obviously, a massive congratulations to Crystal Palace as well on winning the FA Cup. An outstanding achievement for them. And when you consider that after, the first 13 games of the season, they didn't have a single win, to end up finishing 12th is real credit to Glasner and the team that he's put together. And like I say, I didn't finish 11th. I did Fulham to finish 10th. Marco Silva as well. Really good squad. Really like their style of play. And I think both teams deserve to finish where they finished. And yeah, no real further notes from me. Tough season to predict, but we got those two in and around the right place. In 10th was Brentford, who I predicted to finish 17th. And again, my logic was the same as what I had with Wolves. It seems year in, year out, Brentford do end up selling their best players. They sold Ivan Toney, their top goal scorer, in the summer this season, and I thought they would really struggle without him. Did I think Mbeumo would step up? Yes. Did I think Visser would step up? Yes, but nowhere near to the extent that he did. And I also think their backline did a hell of a good job this year, and I don't think enough people are talking about that. They are a very solid team when they need to be. Yes, they do still concede a fair few goals at home, and that's where you do have to give credit to Mbeumo, Visser, Damsgaard, etc. for their amount of attacking output. but it was that run towards from January through to March when they were grinding out really good defensive away wins that are why Brentford have finished 10th in the table this season. And that doesn't get talked about enough. And I think they deserve a lot of credit, and I think Thomas Frank deserves an awful lot of credit for that. I'll hold my hands up and say fair play, because yet again, I've underestimated Brentford coming into this season. But I'll say it again, like with Wolves, it looks like Flecken's going to Bayer Leverkusen. It looks like Mbermo's still going to be leaving, and there's a lot of chatter that Visser is going to be leaving as well. You take those 3 players away, you can't blame me if I put them around 17th again next season. But we'll see. Thomas Frank keeps delivering, so maybe I need to start respecting him a little bit more. And speaking of respecting managers a little bit more, in 9th place was Bournemouth, who I predicted to finish 16th. Again, similar sort of reason. They sold Solanke, they signed Evan Nilsson. Was it going to be a sort of match that was going to work? Turns out it was. Also, the signing of Huijsen has gone absolutely phenomenally for them. 15 million in, 60 million out, puts in one of the best performances from a centre-back in the Premier League this season for a 19-year-old. Fair play to Iraola. His style of play is working, and also the improvement of Justin Kluivert, who has been around the houses a fair few times already in his career. He has been a massive, massive part of Bournemouth's success this season, and fair play to him for that. Obviously, we knew the qualities of Semenyo, and obviously we knew the qualities of Kirkhead and a couple of the other players in their squad. But particularly, Huijsen's performances and Kluivert's performances have propelled them up the table, and obviously the performances of Iraola as well. Again, I've massively disrespected them. Do I think they'll finish that high next season? Again, right now, I'd say probably not, because I'd still expect some of the teams that have finished below them, who in my opinion do still have slightly better squads, I would expect them to still finish above them. But that's what I keep saying. There is so little to choose between these sides right now. And fair play for Bournemouth. 7 points for Brentford. 7 points for Bournemouth for me. A real rough couple of teams for me in those predictions. In 8th place, we have Brighton. And again, I don't want to complain too much about this one. I put Brighton to finish 13th purely because, for me, Hertzler was unproven. One season in the second division of the Bundesliga, getting St. Pauli promoted is a great achievement. For him to then go into Brighton and then deliver an 8th place finish, fair play to him. But it's testament again to Brighton's recruitment. They recruit the best young talent in world football, and that doesn't just be isolated to players. They've clearly brought in one of the best young managers in football this season, and he has delivered for them with a squad that yet again is still selling their best players, but they're selling them for such a profit that they can keep turning over youngster after youngster after youngster. I'm not being funny. Is there a better run football club in England right now than Brighton? They keep delivering the goods. I keep going on about it with my mates at the moment. The guy who's just scored the playoff final winner for Sunderland has already signed for Brighton. They've already got one of the best championship youngsters coming to their club in the summer. It looks like they could be selling Baleba in the summer for over 100 million. They've already rejected 95 million for Mitoma. It looks like João Pedro could be leaving for 70 million. It's different for them. It's not like with Wolves. It's not like with Brentford. I mean, just respect to Brentford, obviously, they've still finished 10th this season. But it seems every single year they can sell 2 or 3 players for up to £100 million. And with that £100 million, sign 4 or 5 more players as good as the player they've just sold for 100 million, but they signed them for 20 million each. Brilliant football club, Brighton. Fair play for them for another 8th place finish. I apologise for putting them in 13th. Let's see what they can accomplish next season. Can they get the right players in again to try and push on even further towards those European places? We shall see. Depends who they can keep as well. Because with every single season that they do improve and keep building on that squad, the less players they need to sell because they're making enough money year in, year out anyway. The next 3, we'll do Forest first, because obviously Forest finished 7th. And again, I'm quite happy with this. No complaints from me. I did them to finish 12th. Again, I got ridiculed for putting Forest that high in the table, and they finished even higher again. The only disappointment for me is that I have to take a 5-point hit for it, because I said they'd only finish 12th. Unbelievable season for Nottingham Forest. What I will say is I'm not surprised that they fizzled out the way that they did. I did think they were in a bit of a false position. I say that with the greatest of respect. They've got a good squad of players. But again, I would put their squad in the same bracket as a Fulham, as a Palace, as an Everton, as a West Ham. They are a team of good players. I don't think they're a team of great players. They are solid, established Premier League players. And this season, it just clicked for them in the right moments and got them where they wanted to be. I don't see Chris Wood scoring 20 goals in the Premier League again next season. Obviously, there's a lot of talk that Gibbs White is going to leave. There's a lot of talk that Murillo could leave. I'm amazed no one's gone in for Milenkovic yet. I think Milenkovic could sign for one of the best clubs in world football and still be the best centre-back in their defence. So we'll see what happens with him. But they've got it right this season. Fair play to Nuno. Fair play to every single one of those Nottingham Forest players. But again, don't be surprised with them also being anchored down by European football. Don't be surprised to see me put Nottingham Forest around the sort of 10 to 15 places again next season. Now we'll get on to the three clubs that I can talk about all together, because these three clubs all came down to the final day and they all finished in and around where I sort of expected them to. Villa in 6th, Newcastle in 5th, Chelsea in 4th. I did them to finish 7th, 6th and 5th. Didn't quite get any of them right. 1 point for Villa, 1 point for Newcastle, 3 points for Chelsea. I'll sort of go back to Chelsea because obviously Newcastle and Aston Villa, if it wasn't for that incredibly controversial moment on the final day, I would have got Aston Villa and Newcastle absolutely spot on. So I'm not going to complain about getting 1 point each for them because it's only 1 point. It's not like the blooming 11 I'm getting from Manchester United. But again, really good seasons for both. Kind of what I was just saying about Nottingham Forest in regards to the fact that these teams have squads that I expect to perform better than the teams below them. This is where I think the gap is right now. I think all the teams from 7th down to 17th are sort of in their own little bubble where they need to sign significantly better players if they're going to break into this new top 6, if you want to call it that. Whereas these teams, I think now are established teams that are going to be playing European football for the next few years. And with the income they're going to keep developing, they're going to keep improving their squads. I think they've got the best managers in the division as well in regard to this top 6 as a whole. So we shall see. Like I say, no complaints from me regarding Villa and Newcastle. And obviously, again, congratulations to Newcastle for winning the Carabao Cup as well. As for Chelsea, again, fair play to them. Fair play to Enzo Maresca. I did them to finish 7th because I thought, again, it'd be interesting to see how they could get that squad playing. I thought it was maybe one season too soon for Chelsea. Obviously, it proved not to be the case. They finished in the Champions League places. They finished in the outright Champions League places for the start of the season. We didn't know if 5th place was going to get it this season. So they finished 4th. They would have qualified for the Champions League regardless. And they won the Europa Conference League as well. Obviously, we all expected them to win the Conference League, but they still had to do it, and they delivered it, and they managed to keep the vast majority of that incredibly inflated squad happy. Not only that, they've already got new players coming in, the likes of Fuenca, the like of Estevez, coming in the summer, or Estevao, I can't say his name, the Brazilian 17-year-old wonder kid that's supposed to be better than every Brazilian ever. He's already signed for Chelsea in the summer. So they're going to be even better. They're a very young team. They've got a good manager, and they're improving and improving, and it would not shock me one bit to see Chelsea at least in the Champions League places next season, if not pushing for the title next season. Might be one season too soon, but in the next couple of years, Chelsea are going to be one of, if not the best team in the country with the squad they are developing right now. Then we have the final 3, which again, I can just sort of do in one little bubble. Manchester City, I said would win the league. They ended up finishing 3rd. Not too many complaints. I think the moment Rodri got injured, we knew it was going to be a much harder season for Manchester City. I don't think we expected it to end up being this hard with no trophies and finishing so far behind Liverpool, but they've still finished 3rd because that's just how good their squad is. It's how good Pep is, etc., etc., etc. They'll be disappointed, but to finish 3rd in this season, I still think is a pretty good result for Manchester City. Arsenal finished 2nd because, of course, Arsenal finished 2nd. I'm pleased that I still got the prediction right that they would have a drop-off this season. I said they would due their season with multiple injuries. That is what they got. The reason I said they'd finish 2nd is because I still thought, even if they did pick up injuries, the rest of the Premier League wasn't ready to compete with Arsenal and Manchester City yet. So I had no issue putting Arsenal 2nd, even though I thought there was going to be a drop-off. But the team that did surprise me, and the team that did win the Premier League, was, of course, Liverpool in Arne Slot's first season. A very, very good achievement for them. 2 points for me. I still put them 3rd. There are a lot of people that didn't even put Liverpool in their top 4 with Jurgen Klopp leaving. But again, it was the same reasoning. I didn't see enough quality in any of these teams below Liverpool that would stop Liverpool finishing at least 3rd. I just thought that Arsenal were better than them and Man City were better than them, and inevitably those two would still keep them at bay. Fair play for Liverpool for producing the performances that they did. Well, to be fair, they still only finished on mid-80 points. So it wasn't the best title-winning season, even of itself. But with the drop-off of so many other teams this season, it made it so much easier for them. We'll see how they do next season. It looks like they're lining up some phenomenal signings already. So I think Liverpool fans have a lot to be excited about right now. I'm very, very frustrated. I don't want to say the word jealous, but I am very frustrated as a Manchester United fan to see Liverpool on the rise the way they are right now under Arne Slot. But we shall see. Fair play to them. 2 points for that. Which means it's time to do my summation of the season. If you look at the table, it's not that bad. It's just those 4 or 5 clubs that have really let me down that are going to cost me here. So a quick reminder, these were the scores that we had for all the previous seasons. The target to beat was, of course, 46. I don't think too many of you are going to be surprised by the fact that I have not beaten 46 when you consider we've got 20 points just from Manchester United and Spurs alone. But have we improved from midway? Was my starter predictions better than where it was midway through the season? Yes, it was. We got 64, which I still think is a very good score for this season all round. If you guys did better, let me know down in the comment section below. But I think 64 is a pretty damn good score, considering how little gaps, like I keep saying, there are between so many of these teams this season. Let's look at the actual table as a whole to see how I got on. Like we said, at the bottom, it was absolutely perfect. At the top, it was near enough perfect. It's just those big ones in the middle. It's Manchester United and Spurs. It's Bournemouth and Brentford. Those are the ones that have let me down. I don't have many complaints about West Ham, Brighton and Nottingham Forest. I think, like I say, those teams are so close to each other in and around. I think they could all finish up there, up and down from those positions. But, yeah, United let me down. Spurs let me down more than I thought they would. And other than that, I don't have many complaints. So I think 64 is a pretty solid score. If you disagree, let me know down in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts surrounding your team and how they performed in the Premier League next season. Give me your early predictions for the Premier League next season. Is it going to be Liverpool again? Is it finally going to be Arsenal's turn? Are any of the promoted sides going to stand any chance of surviving next season? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll be back tomorrow morning with my prediction for the Champions League final. I'll see you there.